And the buyer's commission is dead. It's not pining for the Fords. It is dead. It is assumed room temperature, shuffled off its mortal coil. Let it rest in peace. On today's Unnamed Real Estate Podcast. Hello there. My name is Charles Ray Dawson. I'm the Associate Broker Residential Sales Manager at ProStar Realty. This is the Unnamed Real Estate Podcast, episode 182. And it's dead, Jim. Dead. So this, the reason why I'm saying this on August 1st, which is today, the new NAR rules or AR rules and armless rules have officially gone into effect here in the state of Arizona, which means we are no longer talking about buyers' commissions anymore. This is strictly between the buyer and their agent. So if you were looking on being a first-time home buyer, okay, well, it's a brave new world. A whole new world. Yeah, that's where we're at right now. So, and of course, in true fine ProStar form, I come in here getting all ready to record, and the conversation we were supposed to have tomorrow has suddenly been moved up to today, so I'm a little rushed today. But we are going to be sitting down Monday morning and training our agents on the 18 modified or brand new forms and what they'll mean to them. Hopefully none of them are going to be too shocked about the changes. We've covered some of them here on this podcast. What does this mean to you, to the consumer? All right, it is now official and will be more official through the rest of the country on the 17th. And just as a little caveat, all right, on the 17th, the actual agreement will be finalized in court. Now, the Department of Justice has raised their little claw and said, hey, wait a minute, we might not be too happy with this agreement. We might want more concessions from the National Association of Realtors, right? That is always an option. So we might have done all of this a couple of weeks early. Now, what does that mean? As it is right now, our documents are what our documents are. All right, they got rolled out today. When I'm done recording this, I need to go draw up a couple of them, have a couple of my sellers sign them to reflect the new norm, have a conversation about whether or not they even want to offer a buyer concession at all right? Because there's no requirement for it anymore. All right. Do they want to keep the money? I did not check the ARM list this morning to see if every listing on there magically dropped 2 to 3% in sales price. I mean, if it's the world they keep telling us it's going to be, that's what sellers were immediately going to do, right? Every one of those sellers, remember the ones that we talked about last week, now that they're no longer obligated to pay for the buyer's agent, are going to magically drop their price to reflect the difference because they no longer have that cost, right? And they're going to do this out of the goodness of their heart because, they're not going to act in their best interest. They're going to look at the collective whole and realize home ownership is important. And people, especially people trying to start a family, first-time home buyers, they're not going to have that kind of cash. So they're going to give a discount to first-time home buyers, right? This is what they tell us. This is what I've heard. This is the magic that's supposed to happen. Or you can be bitter and jaded like me and just beat down by the world and my lived experience and go, no, that's not going to happen. So, and to the person who commented on last week's videos, I can't tell am I have or a have not. And I'm like, well, you're sitting in a house that you own. How's it over there in Haveland? I think it's pretty good. I'm in Haveland, all right? I own a house. I have a interest rate that starts with a 2, all right? Like I said, long-time listeners of the show, I've been saying for years that I'm really seriously concerned that we are turning into a 2-tiered country here of landed gentry and serfs, all right? This is a big step that way, all right? So... And everybody knows when you're serf, the view never changes because you're basically looking at the back of the horse and that plow that you're pushing for somebody else. So let's talk about some other things that are pushing on, all right? Our numbers are a little interesting, all right? These are the numbers that actually ran these things yesterday, which is funny because I changed the ST, but I didn't change the 31. There, look, change. What we got going on our listings right now, okay? We have 17,616 active listings, down 237, right? Our new listings are 1,633, down 213. Contracts went up a bit to 2,025, up 77. Closings were 1,572, and coming soon to an MLS near you is 498 new listings. Now, what I find is really interesting about this, our actives went down, but mostly it's because less listings came on. We expect that. This is the summertime. But we got a little bump in contracts. Is that people rushing, trying to get something under contract before the commission change? Who knows? All right. Or is it just because of a little dip or so that we had in interest rates? My concern with the interest rate thing right now is that there was some talk that we might see an interest rate drop here at the last week of July. We did not get that. They're still talking September. So how many people are going to hold off getting under contract in August, waiting for the new interest rate change in September, if it ever comes? It wouldn't be the first time that the Fed decided not to signal something, they didn't do anything at the last minute. There's also a really interesting article I read this week about whether or not, hey, you guys heard me say this about 2 or 3 weeks ago, whether or not the interest rate change would have any impact on the presidential elections. Right. I don't think it's going to have enough of an impact to be able to hit the news to influence that at all. I think any kind of change on that is going to be about as effective as, Kamala Harris's VP pick. All right. Oh, by the way, they were supposed to be doing their big Zoom meeting today where they're going to formally anoint her as the presidential candidate for the Democratic Party. Did that actually happen? I don't know. Been a little busy. So looking at Twitter or X, not seeing anything in the first 2 or 3 scrolls. Although I did see this poor lady from, I think she was Italian in the Olympics, get jacked up by another competitor. That seems to be blowing up Twitter this morning. So anyways, this is not... We don't do that here on this podcast, right? But let's take a look at those comfort report numbers, all right? Because our supply is 74.2, actually went down a little bit, all right? Our demand, though, also came down to 73.8, leaving us at 99.5. Balanced market, but notice we've suddenly hit the 99s. We were 100 last week, so still trending down. And then this one, remember we used to have 4 areas that was growing towards the seller side. Now we only have 2, and that one is Scottsdale. And of course, Maricopa still struggling out there. There's a lot of good bargains to be had down in Maricopa. I did a quick search down there. That and Buckeye, right? So if you were a first-time home buyer and you had that extra 7-10% down that you're going to need to be a first-time home buyer right now, Maricopa and Buckeye, check that out. Chandler's dropped 14. Our biggest loser, though, is Tempe, because Tempe is psychotic and is prone to mood swings. All right, it's 22% down. All right, it is at 111.7. Still barely in the seller's market, but if they keep up this trend, they're going to be into balance. Where are our seller's market at? Chandler, Fountain Hills, Avondale, Phoenix, Scottsdale, Mesa, Glendale, Gilbert, and Tempe. Our balanced markets right now are Peoria, Paradise Valley, don't care. And then Goodyear, Cave Creek, Surprise, Queen Creek, Maricopa, and Buckeye are all of our buyer's markets. So what does this mean to you, the consumer? All right. It's going to be a really interesting month for August. It's going to be a really interesting month. Real estate agents are going to have to try to figure out exactly how they're going to be making these presentations, negotiating these new transactions. I guarantee you that there are going to be agents out there who are going to take what we call a commissionectomy. They're not going to have studied these forms. They're not going to know how to present these forms. They're going to write numbers down, thinking one way. The buyer's going to be thinking another way. The seller's going to be thinking a third way. And when it winds up in escrow, they're going to be getting their settlement statement, looking at it and going, wait a minute, what's this number here? Why is this here? And they're going to be trying to backpedal this whole thing out. So it's going to be a learning experience for everybody. And honestly, as cranky as I am about it, I'm incredibly sort of jazzed up about it. And this is not just my little inner chaos troll acting up, although it might be. It is mostly along the lines of this is a huge opportunity for anybody who can change their patterns of behavior and their processes to reflect the new paradigm. Is that enough buzzword bingo for one sentence? Right? That's about as bad as I think I've ever gotten. But honestly, there are agents out there been doing this for 30 years. They've never had to present this form before. Now they have to. Remember, one of the other things that go into effect is, as a buyer, you cannot have an agent show you a house until you have a form signed between you and that buyer's agent. Right? The day of just meeting the person at the house and having them open up the door and show you the pretty kitchen is over. Right? They're going to want a commitment from you. They are required to have a commitment from you. Now, there are two flavors of this, right? The first one is this formal sitting down. We're going to look for X amount of time, right? And if I find a house and we go under contract together and stuff like that, you are guaranteeing that I get paid a certain amount from that. And then the other side of the whole thing is going to be, it's the doc that says, if I write the contract, right? Now, here at ProStar, we are going to, as strong as I can get, encouragement to not use that form. All right. That being said, we have very few sticks here, although I did come up with a great stick, and I'm going to go talk to Steve about this as soon as I'm done recording this and see what we can do about that. And, you know, it's an analogy I've used a lot, carrots and sticks. Negotiation's a lot about carrots and sticks. Here's the carrot, here's the stick. All right. Leadership in a lot of ways. I jokingly posted on my Facebook page a week or two ago how the different generations respond to PIP, performance improvement plans, right? Which is apparently something you guys deal over in corporate world. We don't have that in real estate, but I threw it up there. Steve saw it. He replied back, I want PIPs on every one of our agents on August 5th. I'm like, yeah, but what's the ramifications if they don't fill up with? I mean, what happens to them if they don't meet those benchmarks? Do we let them go? Do we sever our license with them and kick them out on the street and say, okay, you don't want to play our game? You can go find somebody else's game to play with. I don't know. So, but regardless of the facts, right, people are still going to want to buy houses. People are still going to want to sell houses. All right. They're still going to approach real estate agents to help them do that. Right. You've always had the option to put the for sale by sign up or by owner sign up. You've always had the option to put it in the newspaper yourself or put it online yourself, put it on Zillow, go to a website. You've always had the option to go and find those discount listing only brokerages that for $750 would throw it on the MLS and then not do anything. Right. And that will be eternal until the communists take over, right? So, not that I think that's ever going to happen, right? But until the communists take over, right, houses will sell. People will be watching their children and pets around water, okay? They will not be driving in anything flooded. They'll be working their circles now more than ever, and they're going to work very, very hard and having a great weekend. I'll talk to you guys later.